weeks for you after going 12-1 in week 14.
I mean,
Bringing,
it's not looking good right now for me.
yeah, bringing your total season record to 134 and 103,
Hmm.
and mine is 138 and 99. I'm still under that 100 loss record mark, and I'm hoping to go undefeated this week so
Wait,
I
still
can.
that close?
It's still close. 4 games. Last week you were going into it 129. Yeah, so yeah, last week you were up by like 2, and then I took the lead over by 4. So
Because I know we were, or I was up by a little bit. Sorry, I'm looking at the settings thing. I know I was up by a little bit, but those back-to-back weeks, I thought you were just gonna like run away with it.
yeah, well, I haven't yet. I'm kind of keeping you along for the ride and hoping that it's a little bit tighter of a race. I don't know if I can stay under 100 for 2 more weeks, but we'll try. Um, well, we might as well get into it. Week 17, big week, obviously, as we said. First game we got on the slate of games is first spread game, too.
Hmm.
Falcons at Bills. Um, Bills are favored 14.5 points in this game. And Austin, I'm going to pick against the spread on the Bills, and I'm going to go with the Falcons in this one. The Bills are still going to
Hmm.
win. I think this is a trap spread, 14.5. I do think the Bills are really strong. Right now, they're fourth in the playoff seedings. I think they still win this game, and I think they move to 10-6 against this Falcons team. But for some reason, you can't count out this Falcons team. They're going to score a lot of late fourth quarter touchdowns. And, whether it's Kyle Pitts, although he hasn't scored all season in the United States, or, Cordero Patterson, I think the Falcons stay within 14.5, but the Bills, take the win on this one.
I'm gonna pose you. I'm gonna fade you, Tyler. Obviously, I got some ground to make up here with the picks, but I mean, we saw what the Bills did last week. 12 points against the Pats. The week before, 17 against the Panthers. They're rolling right now. Obviously, I think they're in a better position. You know, I guess I'll say they're in a better like mindset. They had that kind of few game stretch where they had a loss streak. It was looking like the Patriots owned that division, but a good bounce back win against the Patriots last week. Josh Allen's looking great right now. They run the ball again. Singletary, Zach Moss, Stephon Diggs is dynamic. I think Isaiah McKenzie had like 2 tutties last week, Tyler, if I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken. The offense is looking good. The defense is kind of, I don't know. I think they've seen better days. Obviously, you saw like that interview with Poyer and Micah Hyde, and they're getting upset at like the questions the reporters are asking. But I think they still have enough solid weapons on that side of the ball, and overall, they're just a better team.
Yeah, I
Falcons,
think.
they're just they're just not there.
Yeah, I mean, I think Singletary's rushing the ball really well. They're finally getting some momentum on the rushing side of it. Um, I do love this Bills team. I want to ask you a question. Do you see the Bills winning the AFC? Like, I think we need to start asking ourselves serious questions about, who's going to be a Super Bowl team. Obviously, in this game, the Falcons are not a Super Bowl team. It's impossible. They're eliminated. Is it possible that the Bills are a Super Bowl team in your mind coming out of the AFC?
Yeah, I think they're still a Super Bowl contender. Um, I mean, right now, like the AFC is pretty wide open. I guess I'll put it that way. Obviously, the Chiefs are probably the top dog right now. I still think the Bills have the weapons, and with that being said, they also have the experience. Josh Allen is in, was this his fourth year now? We saw that one year they were pretty good. They got upset by the Texans. I think they were still just a little too young, still raw at that point. But I think now with the talent and the experience, I would say they're still in that conversation.
Also, Gabriel and Cole Beasley, I think, is coming back this week for this game after being on COVID. So that will definitely help their offense. Next game we got, I'm going to skip a few, like we said.
Mm-hmm.
Chiefs at Bengals. probably one of the marquee games of this week. You got the 1 seed versus the 3 seed in the AFC playoffs right now. A kind of a straight up game. I think the spread was like 3. Chiefs rolling right now. They're beating everybody they face. Bengals coming off of that insane game, no pun
Insane
intended.
game.
With Joe Burrow throwing 525 yards. I mean, everybody was involved. Joe Mixon was involved. T. Higgins. It was nice seeing T. Higgins get involved. Tyler Boyd, more, Jamar Chase, of course.
Yeah, it wasn't nice for me watching T. Higgins get involved. He fucking ended my fantasy career.
It happens to the best of us. I had my fantasy career ended one time by Chris Carson's off of 3 touchdowns. I think that's the most touchdowns he's ever scored in his career in a single game, and it happened to be against me. That being said, this is the question I asked. The Chiefs are my only Super Bowl contending team out of the AFC, Austin. Like I said in weeks past, they're going to win out, and I don't see them losing to the Bengals. I actually think I'm going to stay consistent with how the No Look podcast has said. AFC North are frauds. I do not trust them whatsoever. I think the Chiefs handle this game well against the Bengals. I think it's going to be a good game, a close game even. But I could also see it getting away from the Bengals. I don't think the Bengals are legit. I think they faced a beat-up Ravens team last week. Joe Burrow may have had a little sauce in the Joe Burr after being called out for not deserving a Heisman, or not a Heisman, but a gold jacket to the Hall of Fame. So I think it's the Chiefs' time to win, even though it's in Cincinnati.
This isn't a spread game, correct?
No, it's not.
Yeah. No, I think I'm going to have to agree with you on this one. As much as I would like to pick the Bengals and see them play well, obviously you and I think we're fans of the Bengals, Joe Burrow, everything they got going on over there. But again, we're talking about a few years ago with the inexperience of the Bills. I think the Bengals are kind of in that spot. I think they have a bright future ahead of them. Obviously, they have their franchise quarterback, Joe Burrow, throwing for 525 passing yards. That's just insane. But with that being said, it was against banged up Ravens secondary, like you said. I mean, they had practice squad guys in there trying to cover Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd. So obviously they got a little bit exploited there. However, the Chiefs, they are the hottest team probably. Although, I mean, I guess the Dolphins technically are the hottest team if we're talking about win streaks. But Chiefs, one of the hottest teams in football right now. Anytime you got Patrick Mahomes in there with all his guys, Kelsey, Tyreek Hill, you can't really bet against them. I do think, Tyler, these teams match up well against each other. I think the game script of just like high-powered offenses, good passing quarterbacks, a lot of weapons. I think this will be a fun one. I think it will be close, but at this point in their respective careers, I'm still going to lean on the side of Patrick Mahomes.
Well, speaking of Dolphins, kind of like you knew we were going to talk about them next, we got the Dolphins at Titans. Another really good game for two teams that are battling for playoff hopes. The Titans, the 2nd seed at 10-5. The Dolphins, the 7th seed at 8-7. They're really holding on for dear life right now. They're on, I believe, 7-game win streak now, Austin.
Yep, because they're 8-7, I believe, right?
So from going 1-7 to 8-7, that's just.
They're the only team that has ever gone on a 7-game losing streak and a 7-game winning streak in the same season.
That's insane.
It's crazy.
And they technically didn't even need that extra week to do it. So they did that in a crazy fashion. I will say, though, Austin, I am riding with the Titans on this one solely because I feel like I've been picking against the Dolphins every single week that they've been playing during this 7-game win streak. But I'm not really sold on their wins. They have great wins. Obviously, a 7-game win streak is no joke. It's probably one of the hardest things to do in football. But you look at some of the teams they faced last week. For instance, they faced a guy who made his debut on Monday Night Football for the Saints, and Ian Book. Obviously their defense played a huge part in that game and was spectacular. And I'm not going to take that away from them. But on the other hand, they're facing teams like the Jets, the Panthers, the Saints beating up, Giants. I'm not feeling very confident in their wins. I think this Titans team is a little bit more seasoned. I think they have a better defense than the Dolphins are playing right now. And I also think their offense is pretty good without Derrick Henry, even who we may be seeing in the next few weeks. A.J. Brown's back, he's healthy, and Tannehill's looking better with those options. So I'm gonna ride with the Titans in Nashville. I think this is where the Dolphins, streak ends. I also need it to end because the Raiders are directly behind them. So all of that wrapped together is primarily because I want the Raiders to take over that 7th spot.
Yeah, I mean, I love how you're talking about the Raiders, even though pre-show you're sitting here with a goddamn Tampa Bay Bucks Super Bowl hat.
It happens. I mean, when you got connects down in TV, baby, you got to get them Super Bowl hats. I got you on one, Austin. I'll send it out when I come visit you.
This guy flip flops more than thong sandals. But anyways, I'm gonna have get that out of here. I'm gonna have to agree with you. Tua's been playing really well. They have some weapons, right? Waddle having one of the best years for a rookie wide receiver.
Say that stat. What is it? I think he's got 96 receptions.
Yeah, he broke like a rookie receiving record or something, right?
I think he's 5 receptions away from breaking, because it's 101 by Jerry Rice. So he's 5 away.
For 2 games left, he's looking pretty good. They've got Devontae Parker back healthy, which, you almost never say Devontae Parker and the word healthy in the same sentence. Defense is playing well. But with that being said, yeah, Titans are coming off of a big win against a pretty hot 49ers team, bouncing back off that ugly loss against the Steelers. We're going to talk about it, we're going to, what's the saying? Beat the dead cow or whatever it is. Like, we're talking about beat a dead horse. I knew it was something like that. We're going to keep talking about Tannehill, right? He's the critical guy in this formula, this situation, that he's got to play good football for the team to succeed. Like you mentioned, A.J. Brown being back, this guy is one of the best receivers in the league. Not sure what's going on with Julio, but they still have a good backbone, good coaching situation. The defense is playing well. They're just one of those teams, Tyler. I feel like at this point, Coach Vrabel has really instilled like some good
the gritty
camaraderie in the locker room. I feel like all these guys bought into what he's preaching, and you can really see that on a week-to-week basis. So I agree with you. I think the Titans stopped the Dolphins' win streak.
Yeah, they're a grit and grind team. But I think beating a dead cow, I think you were thinking of Ace Ventura when he had to go out into the street and shoot the cow. Or was that?
No, that was Dumb and Dumber, I think.
Was that? No, I think that was actually Me, Myself, and Irene. When he had to shoot the cow in the street.
Yeah, you're right. Because he was a police officer,
somewhere.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Put the cow down and it was going.
Yeah. I think that was it.
Yeah.
Jim Carrey shot a cow in a movie at some
100.
point.
Yep. Next game we got Raiders at Colts. Austin, obviously the biggest game of the week for me. A lot of gray hairs could possibly be formed this week for me. The Colts sitting at the 5th seed at 9-6. Raiders at the 10th seed at 8-7. Really, we're just tied with a bunch of teams at 8-7. A lot of those losses that happened earlier in the season that shouldn't have happened, a la the Giants, Bears, Washington football team, really come back to haunt you these times a year when you're sitting in 10th, easily could possibly be in 4th or 3rd. But that's just not the way the ball rolls for us at Raider Nation. So, Austin, I'm going to take the pick I know you're going to fade, and I'm going to pick the Raiders in this game. I'm going to ride with my team. I'm going to hope and pray to any and all gods that someone can strike down and put a strong defense in front of this Jonathan Taylor run game, because Carson Wentz has been announced that he's probably not going to play with COVID. So they're missing their quarterback, but, they still got Jonathan Taylor. So I'm still kind of scared. Defense for the Colts is obviously looking good still. But the Raiders are riding a hot hand. We just need Derek Carr to come up big, make some non-stupid throws, I guess you could say, that lead to bad interceptions. And hopefully we get a Daniel Carlson kick for the field goal win one more time. So I'm riding with the Raiders on this one.
Surprise, surprise, Tyler. And I know we've stated in weeks past that I'm unable to pick the Raiders. However, it doesn't matter this week. This is the number one game, a lock that I feel most confident in not being able to pick the Raiders. No Carson Wentz, no problem. They got Sam Ellinger back there. Dude's gonna come in and ball out. I mean, Jonathan Taylor, right? That's one word, or one name, two words, right? That's all I need to say for this one. Defense is playing strong. They're one of those teams that you do not want to face off against right now, Tyler. Um, I mean, for me, it's just like, how are you going to stop Jonathan Taylor? The Raiders defense has been lackluster, I feel like, all year long. It's gonna rely a lot on Derek Carr. We'll see what he's made of. I did go back, Tyler. I know I was saying that like Josh Jacobs had a bad game or he's having a bad year. I looked at the numbers. He is playing well. I think they're gonna have to, really get him involved in the game flow, game plan a lot this week. But I don't know. Colts are they're solid right now, man. They're coming off of what was that?
They won against
Who
the
was the
Cardinals
last
on
one?
Christmas.
They beat the Cardinals. They beat the Patriots. Close game against the Colts. Beat the Bills. I mean, this team is rolling right now. I'm honestly interested to see how it shakes out with Sam Ellinger. Like, do you think, Tyler, if he plays like an outstanding game, do you think they move forward with him?
I would have to think that because I don't think Carson Wentz is the answer. I think he's a good spot filler, kind of just like they had with Phillip Rivers. They're still kind of in that like testing phase of who's going to be the. They've been in a testing phase ever since Peyton Manning retired or gone to the
Yeah.
Broncos. So I don't think they found their man really yet, and I don't think Carson Wentz is that guy. I will say one thing, Austin. I actually disagree. I don't think it's Josh Jacobs, to get into the flow. I think it's all on Derek Carr because I love Josh Jacobs. I think he's playing above his means. The problem is our offensive line is just so bad in winning against other defensive players that you end up seeing Derek Carr have to over extenuate himself to, making those throws that, they could have possibly ran for or, you know, changing the flow of the game so they can pass a lot more. That's probably why his passing yards are a lot higher than years past.
Hmm.
And I really think, hopefully Darren Waller plays this week. They're saying he is. Maybe getting him involved early and often, making him the focal point for the game plan, or using him as a decoy. But, Denzel Perriman on the other side, middle linebacker, he's going to be the focal point for the Raiders on defense. Really keying in on Jonathan Taylor. If they can't get to the quarterback with Max Crosby and, Denzel Perriman, showing why he deserves to be a Pro Bowler, then I'm a firm believer if we lose this game, Austin, or we lose the next game, one game we're out. We got to play like we
Hmm.
really want to be in the playoffs. So
Yeah, no, but just going back a second, talking about Carson Wentz, the fact that I know they run the ball a lot, obviously in Indy, but the fact that you have T.Y. Hilton, Michael Pittman, Zach Pascal, Paris Campbell, Mo Alley Cox, Jack Doyle, and you still can't even get 100 yards passing in that game. I mean, that's pretty outrageous for me, in my opinion.
I think the most outrageous thing, Austin, is that they have such a good offensive line. Everybody thinks obviously probably the best in the league, and you get protection. I mean, I feel like I don't know. They're a really good run. Their offensive line is a very good run penetrating offensive line. I always feel like I see Carson Wentz rushing outside the pocket. Is it so much that they're not a great pass, blocking team, or is it the fact that maybe he doesn't trust them, or he's not stepping up into the pocket and he's just, escaping the pocket because that's how he feels more comfortable. I
Yeah,
would think that they
probably
would be good at both.
probably the latter. I mean, clearly, they're good, rush offensive line with the stuff Jonathan Taylor's been doing this year. But I mean, I feel like if you're a good line, like you're going to be good at, any aspect of blocking, whether it is rushing or for pass block. I feel like that kind of just plays into more of Carson Wentz game style. He's a kind of a loose cannon. He gets out there, he likes getting out of the pocket, scrambling. He's a pretty decent rusher. He's not really known for being a rushing quarterback. Um, yeah, I would say that's kind of more of what that type of scenario is.
I think Carson Wentz it plays a unique role. I think he needs to be somewhere that's going to have two legitimate quarterbacks. Like, honestly, I could see him going back to Philly and playing with Jalen Hurts and just like splitting, like Jalen Hurts, like he
Mm.
can throw, he can rush. Carson Wentz, he can throw, he can kind of rush. But
Yeah, but
where
what's
they,
the advantage? Like when they were doing that with Breeze and Hill, like Breeze is obviously a better passer, Hill is a better
right.
rusher.
But I
I
think
think Hurts is a better passer and rusher than Wentz. So where would he come into play?
I think a lot of it would be misdirection. Like, oh, Hertz is in the game. They're probably going to do like a option RPO type play when in reality what they could do is, have him just drop back and throw it. Or, vice versa with Wentz. Oh, they're not going to do an RPO and then they do. I think it would make your offense more dynamic where now the defense is second guessing themselves. I don't think Wentz is a premier quarterback in the NFL. I think obviously he's a good quarterback. I just don't see him, stepping up to that next role of a franchise quarterback.
Yeah.
And every time I see him with that little captain's thing on his chest that's plated in gold, meaning he's been a captain for over 5 years, I get a little irritated because I don't think he deserves that. Players that deserve that are like a Rodgers, a Brady, a Darius Leonard on the other side of the Colts. I don't think Wentz is a franchise player like that.
Yeah, I think quarterbacks are probably just captains by default, right? You want their
Yeah.
team, the rest of the team, the locker room to be behind them. So that's more of a morale booster, I guess.
Well, speaking of Eagles, Austin, next game we got Eagles at Washington football team, NFC East uh, battle, I guess, for seventh place. Really, the Eagles are in seventh place right now, 8-7. Washington football team technically still not eliminated. I just wanted to touch on this game primarily because the Eagles are still fighting for that playoff spot. They have the Vikings behind them. They have the Falcons and the Saints behind them as well, and they're fighting, with the 49ers for that sixth and seventh spot, really, because all the other teams have clinched so far. This is a must-win game for the Eagles, Austin. Jalen Hurts really needs to step up. Washington football team, as you know, got absolutely bamboozled, run over, dismantled by the Cowboys defense last week. I don't know how many interceptions or how many turnovers there were, but it was. I look at the stat line and I'm like, Jesus Christ, Austin almost won fantasy because of Cowboys defense.
Hmm.
And at one point
Yeah.
you were winning, I heard.
Yeah, that was a close one. I mean,
A lot closer
sorry.
than anybody expected.
What league were we talking about?
Queensberry.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, I lost by like 4 points, honestly. Like
You
it
were
was a
up
lot
by
closer than I expected.
you were up by point 0.6 at one point, I heard, and then Washington scored a touchdown at the end, garbage time.
Oh really? Fuck. Well,
Yeah.
shit. I don't know. I deleted both my NFL or in my fantasy apps, NFL and Yahoo, because it's just like I don't give a fuck about third place. If you ain't first, you're last, baby.
Ricky Bobby. So in that point, I'm gonna have to ride with the Eagles. I do think Washington football team is a strong team. I don't think they're gonna come back from that defeat from the Cowboys, and I think the Eagles really want this one a little bit more. I do love this Eagles defense too. They're very scrappy. So I gotta go with the Eagles. Fly, Eagles, fly.
Yeah, I'm looking at the injury report. I know Sanders and
Tony, I'm going to
Howard
put you
went
on the
down.
spot. The Eagles.
Howard's expected to play. Boston Scott and Gainwell are expected to split snaps at RB.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, honestly, Tyler, I don't like either of these teams. I think the Eagles are a little bit better. I have a little bit more faith in Jalen Hurts as opposed to Sam Heineke. Their past few wins have been like, what, the Giants twice, the Jets, the football team. I think the only thing that's making me sway more on the side of the Eagles is the quarterback position. I think, if it's a close game coming down the crunch time, I have more confidence in Jalen Hurts, getting the job done as opposed to Heineke. I think Gibson has played well. Obviously, the injury to Logan Thomas and Chase Young has impacted the football team. And then it's just going to go back to consistency for me, Tyler. Hurts has been playing well. The offensive line has been looking great. And yeah, I'd say if Howard was out, that's maybe a little bit different. But if they have Howard, Boston Scott, Gainwell, I think that's enough guys in the backfield there to get the job done.
I honestly think that the Eagles play better without Sanders. Because I feel like they're more dynamic with Scott and Gainwell. They kind of play out like Scott's an elusive back. Gainwell is somewhat of an elusive back, but he runs between the tackles. I think Sanders just doesn't fit that offense well.
Yeah, which is interesting because he did have that one game a few weeks ago where he had like 150 plus rushing yards. So obviously he's a good back, but I do agree with you. He's not like a
He's a former Penn State great.
well, the offense doesn't really fit. It's not like a smash mouth play action type offense. You see the Titans doing it with Henry or the Colts with Jonathan Taylor. These guys more of a dynamic spread West Coast offense. They get a lot of guys in motion. They like to um, motion the back out of the backfield, which just a testament to your point. I don't think that Sanders is that guy. However, I don't know if Gainwell or Scott is like the fit for that offense or Jordan Howard. I don't know that you can really let Sanders go because he is easily the best running back. I don't know what that means if you need to tweak the offensive scheme a little bit or what have you.
I think a
But
lot of it's beefing up the offensive line at the end of the day.
I
You
mean,
know,
they have
they're
one of the best offensive lines in football.
Yeah, but I feel like they have a weak right side to their offensive line. Their left side is pretty strong, but and then you obviously have Kelsey in the middle. But I don't feel like they're as strong. But I mean I guess we'll see. The Bills are in the market for a running back after this year. I mean, there's probably a lot of names that are being thrown around in that carousel.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Next game we got Rams at Ravens, another playoff implication game for both the NFC and AFC. Rams at 11-4, sitting in third spot in the NFC, and then you got the Ravens sitting at eighth, trying to make their way into the playoffs. Austin, I'll let you go first. I think you know who I'm going to pick in this game, but I kind of want to hear what your side is because
Uh,
of the Rams being at 11-4.
I mean, I think I know who you're gonna pick, but I'm gonna pick the LA Rams. They kind of got off to that slow start, if you will. They're playing in the Cardinals' shadow for much of the season. However, the last few weeks they've looked good against the Vikings, Seahawks, and the aforementioned Cardinals. I think this is kind of a must-win game for them. Let's see, they're sitting there at what's the
Eleven
Ram
and 4.
11-4. So
Cardinals at 10 and
they're
5.
a game up on the Cardinals right now. They have the 49ers week 18, which for whatever reason, Shanahan has always had McVay's number. So I think in that type of situation, they look at a beat up Ravens team, beat up secondary, and this just plays right into their hand. Cooper Kupp's probably going to go out there, break the record for most receiving yards in a season. Not even going to need the extra week. So when the record books come out, you can't even really put the asterisk next to him because I think he's going to do it in week 17. OBJ, he's kind of found some new life in that offense. He scored 4 touchdowns for them this in 5 games or whatever, and he had 6 for the Browns in the past 2 seasons. So obviously rejuvenating his career there. The running attack has been looking good. You got Henderson, Michelle, a nice little 1-2 punch. And I mean, the defense is just solid, Tyler. I know we were talking about like Von Miller coming in. Oh, he's going to be dynamic. He's going to put him over the edge. But it's just same old Rams defense. You get Aaron Donald, sacking the quarterback. Jalen Ramsey has been playing solid defense, at the cornerback position. So I don't really see any blemishes on their roster right now. The special teams for the Rams haven't been playing that well. I talked to my roommate Connor. He's a Rams fan. I'm a Packers fan. He's like, "Oh, Rams special teams are bad." I'm like, "Well, Packers are worse." So you don't really have much room to talk with me, at least. But they had that what was it, punt return or kick return for a touchdown. So they're playing better from that aspect, and I think they're a better football team.
Yeah, I mean, this is a must-win game for both of them. The biggest thing is the biggest takeaway I have is the Ravens don't have any clue as to who's going to be starting at quarterback. They said today Lamar Jackson limped off the field in practice, so now they're thinking it's non-COVID related. He's
Mm.
possibly injured, possibly not playing. Tyler Huntley's still in COVID protocols. They're unsure if he's going to be playing. Josh Jackson might get the best or the best chance of playing and starting his second game for the Ravens, who didn't play bad. I mean, obviously there was a lot of garbage time touchdowns and playing from behind the whole entire time. But the biggest thing for me is Jalen Ramsey, listed this year so far number 2 quarterback in the league in terms of, pass coverage, in terms of man-to-man, in terms of interceptions, in terms of everything. Maybe not interceptions, excuse me, because hasn't gotten a lot, but I think he's the biggest focal point on this defense. Aaron Donald obviously plays stupendous, but Jalen Ramsey is playing immaculate and deserves all the credit in the world. I feel like he gets overlooked because you got Trayvon Diggs and Dallas intercepting every ball coming his way. But in reality, the real cornerbacks are the ones that are actually shutting down the half of the field, like Jalen Ramsey. I'm going to ride with the Rams on this one. Obviously, there's so many question marks with the Ravens. I don't know what to even expect. If I'm a Ravens fan, sorry, Benji, but your season's pretty much over after this one, and you're just going to have to hope for a better season next year. COVID has really taken this Ravens team and just really just right up the poop chute on it.
Yeah, I mean, even if Lamar was going to play, Tyler, I think just with how decimated their secondary is, if they get in that shootout type game, you can't even, expect Lamar to do much because they're just going to be letting up so many points. And again, facing one of the best passing offenses in the league with Stafford and Kupp, that's just a recipe for disaster.
And also the Ravens are really good at, running the ball. They're probably the best in the league in terms of rushing touchdowns, rushing yards over the past however many seasons. And without Lamar Jackson, even Tyler Huntley in the game, you're not seeing, production from Devontae Freeman. You're not seeing production from, I don't know who else they have. They got rid of Lev Bell, but
I mean, obviously they were kind of in the hole to start the season with J.K. Dobbins going down.
Correct. Yeah, that was a rough subject for me all season. But no, I mean, without Lamar Jackson, their main focal point in the run game is just completely decimated. And I think they're great, passing wise. They have one guy, and Mark Andrews, probably the best statistical tight end in the league right now. Hollywood Brown's kind of been out of it, hasn't really been playing that well with the backup quarterbacks. But Mark Andrews is, I'm pretty sure, going to put the team on his back this game like he has the past few games and hope that they get some sort of help on defense. But like you said, with Matthew Stafford, Cooper Kupp, all the offensive weapons and defensive weapons they have, it's going to be tough for the Ravens to beat the Rams. Next game we got, Austin. I got the Broncos at Chargers. This is a spread game right here. 6.5 points. I want you to go first on this one too, because I want to see who you're gonna pick. I think I know already. But it is a spread game, 6.5 points.
Yeah, I mean, I got to go with the Chargers on this one, and just a little bit more to fight for. Obviously, coming off of an ugly loss last week against the Texans, Tyler. I was watching that game, and I just literally couldn't even believe my own eyes. Like, how are the Texans, Davis Mills, no Brandon Cooks, and these guys are out here just balling, Rex Burkhead putting the team in his JanSport.
That bald son of a bitch.
Carrying the team to a fat dub. Yeah, I think obviously Chargers still in the playoff conversation. They're going to go back to the drawing board, look at the game film, figure out where they went wrong and, what they can do to improve on that. I still think they have, a great quarterback, Justin Herbert. I think his best years are yet to come. He's got a good future ahead of him. No Eckler last week. Didn't really matter. Justin Jackson, 2 touchdowns. But, again, we're talking about, running back talent versus how well they fit into the game scheme. Tyler, obviously Eckler fits in a little bit better with that West Coast spread style offense. So they get him back. They were without Mike Williams again last week. I think he's going to come back.
No, he's out.
He's out again? All right. Yeah. Well, relying more on Keenan Allen, where they still have Guyton over there.
Mm-hmm.
Jared Cook, all reliable. And on the defensive side of the ball, you haven't really heard much. We're talking about Bosa's been playing well, obviously, but they got Derwin James back. I haven't really heard his name much. But I still think they're a better team, and they just again, for me, comes down to if it's a close game, fourth quarter drive, win the game, clutch time. I'm looking at the quarterbacks, and I put Justin Herbert over whoever the Broncos are starting this week.
So going into this game, Austin, I had the Broncos purely off of spite, purely off of what the Raiders need to win this game. But then I got myself thinking, Raiders win this week. In my head, obviously, all hypothetical. Raiders win this week. We move to 9-7. The Chargers win this week. We move to 9-7. The Dolphins lose. The Ravens lose. Now we're sitting at the battle for 7th place. Week 18, January 9th, in Allegiant Stadium at Raiders Stadium at home. Raiders versus Chargers. Big Tim in attendance. It's all on the line for the 7th seed in the AFC, and I want the Raiders to control their own destiny. So in this game, I'm going to pick the Chargers. I'm going to say that they're going to cover the spread. This Broncos team is straight up doo-doo head, booty cheeks, stinky booty butt boys, and they have no chance of beating the Chargers. I love this Chargers team. The biggest thing that they were missing last week was Austin Eckler. And I think they're going to come back, and they're going to not lose to this Broncos team, going into Allegiant battle of 7th place versus the Raiders.
That was a good one. I'll take it.
All right. Thank you. Next game we got, Austin, Cardinals at Cowboys. Obviously, this is just a ginormous week for playoff implications. The Cardinals sitting at 10-5, 5th place in the NFC. The Dallas Cowboys clinched their division, or clinched the NFC East at 11-4. They're the number 2 seed. I am intrigued to hear what you have to say, being a Packers fan. I'll go first since I've let you go on first the other 2 times. Yeah. I think both of these teams are dynamic. Obviously, the Cardinals are going through a little bit of a rough patch. They're in Dallas. The Cowboys are playing really well. Huge win against Washington Football Team. They got so many weapons. I mean, Austin can name them all. He has half of them on his fantasy, or had them on his fantasy football team, including their defense. I think this is a trap game, though, Austin. I think the Cowboys, they're so happy with the NFC East. They finally did it, with time to spare in the regular season. The Cardinals are going to need this game more than the Cowboys do. They're going to want it more. Kyler Murray's going to have to put on a show. He's going to have to show out. I think, James Conner they're going to introduce him a little bit more in the offense. Obviously, no DeAndre Hopkins, no problem. They got Christian Kirk and A.J. Green. Someone's going to get shadowed by their defense, and their defense is great. They got Mekhi Parsons, who's playing incredible, best rookie in the NFL draft by far. I think I called it last year. But I think Kyler Murray needs to put on
Former Penn State great.
I think Kyler Murray needs to put on his baby gap big boy jeans and come to play and come to beat this Dallas Cowboys team if they want a shot at going into the playoffs this year. Because if they lose this game, Austin, it's not looking pretty. Obviously they'll still be in the playoffs, but they might have a chance of facing, maybe a Packers team early in the playoffs. So I'm going with the Cardinals on this one. I think they need it more.
All right, interesting pick there. I mean, if anyone watched football last week and saw what the Cowboys did to the football team, then I don't see how you could pick against them, Tyler. They're rolling right now. And this is just, a testament to Mike McCarthy. I mean, the guy from week 15 to the NFC Championship game in the playoffs is probably the best coach in football. Obviously, we know how he, when he gets to the big stage, folds under pressure. But this guy has all the experience in the world. You see what he's doing with all these weapons. It's a little bit different because years past when he was coaching Rodgers, it's like, all right, I got the quarterback. How can we make the other guys around him better? Whereas now they have receivers, they have the running back. He's just putting Dak Prescott in a position to not make mistakes, and obviously we saw last week that's going pretty well for him. The defense, Tyler, which you and I both know, I've been very high on. The fact that I kept them on both my fantasy teams throughout the year is just like, okay, these teams week in, week out are playing solid games, putting up good numbers. I don't think they're going to get 2 touchdowns again with between defense and special teams, but there's just so many guys that I don't even know who to talk about. Parsons, Diggs, um, insert name here, but just you're talking about the Cardinals need it more. Yeah, at the same time, I think the Cowboys have just like truly found their identity, and now they're just all gas, no brakes. On the other side of the football, the Cardinals, I'm not sure what's going on. We've seen this in years past. They start off hot and then they kind of collapse towards the end of the season. I'm not sure. Obviously they've had some injuries. Hopkins has been out, James Conner, J.J. Watt. But I mean, if you got Kyler Murray and they're talking about this guy as like a potential MVP, he should be able to get the job done with whoever. He still has AJ Green, he still has Rondell Moore. They brought in Zach Ertz, who played defense. Nothing to really write home about. Nothing too sexy, but um, they have Buda Baker on the other side of the ball. I mean, they have playmakers, and Cliff Kingsbury. I think a lot of fingers have to be pointed at him because he comes in kind of that new wave of coaches, McVay, LaFleur, Shanahan, all these guys, and record wise, regular season he's right up there. But then when it gets to the end of the season and into the playoffs, they've just been pretty much nonchalant, non-existent. So I'm not big on the Cardinals. I think the Rams are definitely going to win that division, and I think the Cowboys are definitely going to win this football game.
Yeah, one thing I will say is I think it was November and December, Cliff Kingsbury and the Cardinals were like in the past 2 years since 2020, I think they won 25% of their games, if that. And they start the season off with like winning 90% of their games. So obviously it's not December anymore. These games will be played in the new year. Hopefully, new year, new look Cardinals, to get me that W. But I want to go rapid fire on some games, Austin. I have a handful of them before we get to the Vikings at Packers matchup that you so heavily will indulge yourself on. First game I got, we're just gonna pick them, and just let it go.
Okay.
Because who gives a fuck? This is a spread game right here. Giants at Bears. Bears are favorites 6 points. I got the Bears. Who do you got?
Anytime the Bears are favored by that many points, I'm gonna fade and go with the other team, no matter who it is. So I'll pick the Giants.
Saquon Barkley questionable, even though he makes no difference in their offense. Next game we got Jaguars at Patriots. Patriots are favored 15.5 points. Austin, I'm riding with the Patriots. I'm still going with the spread.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to stick with the Pats as well. Trevor Lawrence has only thrown for one passing touchdown this year. For someone that's played in every single game, that's completely egregious.
Next game we got Bucks favored 13 points traveling to New York Jets. Austin, I got the Buccaneer. It doesn't go good. I got the Bucks though. I'm gonna ride with the spread on this one too. Go Bucks. Raise the flag. -13.
Minus 13. I need to make up some wins, Tyler. I think I'm gonna hop on the Jets in this one. I think the Bucks, maybe they play with their food a little bit too much before they eat it for dinner. But Zach Wilson, I think he can do enough to come within 13 points.
Antonio Brown had a big game last week. Mike Evans still gonna probably be out. We'll be looking at Rojo and Antonio Brown and Gronky boy. Next game we got Texans at Niners. Niners are favored 12.5 points. Austin, I'm sticking to the spread. I'm going with the Niners.
I'm gonna fade you again, Tyler. I think I'm gonna go for the underdogs. Texans showed a little bit of promise last week, a little bit of tenacity, some grit, we like to call it, with that impressive win against the Chargers. Niners, I know we're supposed to not talk about it really too much, but coming off a close loss against the Titans, I think they're kind of wishy-washy at this point.
They'll be back. Eli Mitchell's back. They'll be fine. Next game we got Panthers. Oh, well, also I will say that Niners game, Trey Lance projected to get the start. Jimmy G going to be out. Could we possibly see the second coming of a Colin Kaepernick and a Niners Super Bowl run with the rookie Trey Lance? Who knows? Find out.
I don't know what Kaepernick has to do with that.
Well, Kaepernick was the quarterback that led the 49ers to the Super Bowl. A lot of people compare Trey Lance's style to Kaepernick's style.
Okay.
So Next game we got Panthers at the Saints. Who dat? Saints are favored 7 points, a touchdown. They're expecting Taysom Hill to be back. I'm riding with the spread again. Go Saints.
I will agree with you on this one, Tyler. Saints, just a lot more weapons. Panthers, time to pack it up, buddy. Warm up the bus and go home.
Last game we got in this rapid fire game, Lions at Seahawks. Austin, I think this is the first Seahawks game that they've had a spread on their chest. Seahawks are favored 6.5 points, and I'm riding with the spread on this one. I don't care about the Lions. I'm not picking the Lions. Don't care. Riding with the spread on this one. Go Seahawks.
What kind of spread on the chest are we talking about, honey?
A nice salmon.
Yeah, I think. Wait, I'm sorry. What's the spread again?
6.5.
Seahawks.
Yes.
Yeah.
Imagine it was the Lions.
Dude, I don't even know at this point. I mean, we got Patriots 15. I don't know what the biggest spread in NFL history is, but that's pretty crazy up there. It's in Seattle. Yeah, I'm gonna go with the 12th man on this one. DK back in the end zone. I look for him to score again.
All right. That was rapid fire. I actually enjoyed that thoroughly, especially getting on later in these season games where some of these teams are pretenders and they're facing up against other pretenders. So good to get them out of the way. Next game we got, second to last game, Vikings at Packers, NFC North rivalry, probably the biggest game of the week in the NFC North. In Lambeau, the Packers are actually favored 6.5 points, Austin. So this is a spread game.
Prime time.
I love it. I need it. I gotta have it. The Vikings sitting at 7-8 at that 8th seed. The Packers obviously 12-3 in the first seed. Austin, I'm gonna let you go first. The floor is yours. I already know who you're gonna pick, but I want to hear why. Why, baby? Why?
All right, Tyler, get the fishing rod ready in case you have to reel it in. Because I'm getting fucking hyped up. We got Randall Cobb back at practice. The Packers activated Jair Alexander. Vikings most likely going to be without Adam Thielen. It's going to be a long day for Mr. JJ, Justin Jefferson, if he wants to go up against one of the best corners in the league, Alexander. Now, I know he doesn't flip-flop the sides, but we have Rasul Douglas. We have Stokes, who's been playing good ball. Packers, dude, they're just clicking right now. Rodgers, he could go out there with a broken foot and probably still throw for 304 tutties. I mean, Tyler, dare I say back-to-back MVP seasons for some guy who is potentially going to retire midseason. Not only is Rodgers immune to COVID, Tyler, but he's also immunized against the Vikings because this team is trash. Yeah, they lost a close one last time earlier in the season, but this is at home. This is at Lambeau. Packers, Vikings this week, then the Lions. We're going to wrap up the number 1 overall seed in the NFC. And guess what, NFC football fans, if your team's lucky enough to be in the playoffs, the road's going to go through Lambeau, Green Bay, Wisconsin, Titletown, baby. You better fear the Pack because it's going to get real. It's going to get real. It's real scary right now. It's going to be real quiet in Minnesota. You know, there's no fucking Viking horns. Nope, we're in Lambeau, and they're going to be playing Roll Out the Barrel. And they're going to fucking kick their asses.
Is it prime time or is it scary hours time for the Vikings? I'm gonna ride with the Pack on this one, Austin, as I have been all season, and I have been pretty much winning with all season. I think the spread, being 6.5 doesn't really matter. The Vikings, they're kind of decimated, as you said, Adam Thielen. Dalvin Cook, I think he's gonna play this week, or he's questionable to play. But I just don't think this Vikings defense is any number for Aaron Rodgers and how he's been playing. Again, Aaron Rodgers, the ratio between touchdowns and interceptions is probably one of the most fascinating things I've seen in modern NFL. I mean, obviously interceptions and turnovers happen for quarterbacks, but Aaron Rodgers, somehow is just, you say he's immune to COVID. I think he's immune to throwing interceptions. The guy is just phenomenal. I agree. I think he deserves to be the MVP, especially sitting atop the NFC right now, which is, I think, the toughest or tougher side of the NFL in terms of conference play. Packers in prime time. There's only one thing that's more definite than that in a W, and that's death taxes and the Packers winning in prime time. So I'm going to ride with the Pack with you on this
Tyler,
one.
6.5. That is such a fucking disgraceful spread. I should drive 4 hours over to Las Vegas, fucking pull out my dick in the Bellagio and piss all over the floor.
You should.
These odds makers should be fucking ashamed of themselves.
Austin, you should take that $700 you won on the 8 in roulette, fucking put it all on that spread on the Packers and say, double my money, let's go. Let's run it.
I should.
There
But
we
if
go.
I lose, then I'm going to be on the street. So that doesn't sound like that smart of an idea.
Okay. Last game we got, Austin. Browns at Steelers. Monday Night Football. Obviously, AFC North is frauds in both of our minds. These two teams, 11 and 12, sitting at 7-1 in the Steelers and 7-8 in the Browns. I think a lot of this is two things, Austin. Two teams fighting to possibly be in the playoffs, and obviously the latter being Big Ben's last game in Heinz Field potentially. They're pretty much saying this is his final season. This would be his final game at home in the Steelers uniform, especially if they don't make the playoffs. Well, even if they do make the playoffs, there's no shot of them being at home. So his last game in Heinz.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm picking against the Steelers. There's just no. I think this is a coin flip game for me. Honestly, I would feel indifferent on this game. I think the Browns, they're trash. The Steelers, they're trash. I don't think that the Steelers have a good offense. I don't think the Browns have a good offense. They have a decent defense. Obviously, it's the battle of the edge rushers with Myles Garrett and T.J. Watt. I don't know. I kind of want to go with the Steelers now. I'm going to flip-flop. I'm flip-flopping. I talked myself into it. Big Ben's last game in Heinz Field. They got their guys back. A lot of people that are off injury. I don't see Big Ben losing his last game in Heinz Field now. I don't know why I picked the Browns. The Browns are horrendous. They're terrible. I don't even know how they came into striking distance against the Packers. The NFL is rigged. There's no way that they're going to let Big Ben lose his last game in Heinz Field.
Well, you see, Tyler, I actually flip-flopped the opposite direction because I was going to go with the Steelers because I feel like, Browns played well last week against the Packers, almost, came up with the victory. Big Ben's last game at home. However, I think this won't be Big Ben's last game at Heinz Field because he's going to lose, and then Big Ben's like, oh, shit. Like, just like when we were playing basketball as kids, you got to end on a make. I got to end my fucking career on a win at home, and if, I'm going to lose, then I'm going to come back next year. So that is what I think is going to happen. Really, it's a toss-up game. However, I think, with Chubb, the Browns are just have a little bit of an edge. Not that, Najee Harris, obviously, he's had an incredible rookie season, but Browns have a little bit better line. Baker has been playing decent. He's got that shoulder brace out there that we're going to have to see what happens with him in the offseason. But I don't need to say much more.
Is Kareem Hunt back?
I don't think so. I think he was COVID, but then he was actually hurt or something. So I don't know if he's going to be playing. But, I mean, they have Dearness Johnson behind
Chubb absolutely ran buck wild against the Packers. I mean, he played incredible. But, I mean, if it is Big Ben's last game at Heinz Field, I can't – he's going to somehow, some way, whether it's him losing a limb or him losing his arm, he's going to throw the lights out and try to win that last game at Heinz Field. Although I could see him just being like, fuck it, I'm coming back, and then Steelers fans everywhere just throw themselves off the bridges there in Pittsburgh. But, Austin, no-look podcast parlay of the week we got here. We got the Chiefs money line, the Titans money line, the Eagles money line, Rams money line, Chargers spread, Pats spread, Saints spread, Seahawks spread, and finally the Packers spread in a 9-team parlay. I don't hate it. I don't hate it, but I don't feel great about it. So maybe if I don't feel great about it, it might actually hit something.
The Eagles money line is probably the one I would be most nervous about.
I'm kind of nervous about that Titans one. I'm also kind of nervous about that Pats one. 15.5 is a lot of points. But, I mean, like you said, Austin, to start the show, This is the witching hour week where pretenders become contenders and contenders become pretenders. Also, it's our last show of 2021. So
How could I forget?
we also look forward to seeing everybody in 2022. And I was thinking, Austin, when I come out there in April, we'll have to film another podcast, and then that way we
Yeah.
just add another place of places we podcast.
Yeah. Obviously we did a couple remote episodes in Florida, Key West, Tampa. We have in New York in the Insane Game Studio. So we'll have to add California to the list. Tyler, I don't know, obviously putting you on the spot, but do you have any favorite moment of the past year from the No Look podcast?
Favorite
I was
moment.
just gonna say, I was. It was funny when we were doing it at your place, and Stinky Booty Boy just started yelping for no reason, or like caught a dew claw or something, and that dude was screaming bloody murder.
It's definitely interesting. I mean, that was a good one. I mean, I still have the picture of him sitting at the little table, and he was so small, and now he's so big.
Yeah.
Another one that I liked was when we were trying to sit in front of, Raymond James Stadium.
Oh,
We
yeah.
kind of had to sweet talk the security guard to let us sitting in front of the stadium to shoot the show. And we even had issues with, recording. So when there's a will, there's a way. We always try and have a show, though, and try and always make it good. With that being said, obviously 2022 is right around the corner. We'll try and be better on TikTok. We'll try and be better on all social media, posting
Yeah.
daily clips and everything. But we will be tuning into a new time in 2022. So we'll be shooting on Sundays, airing on Tuesdays, reactions of the games, and so on and so forth. So just another time slot change, but I think it works out for the better.
Yeah. I got a lot of hopes, and I'm pretty excited to see what 2022 holds for the No Look podcast. I feel like we've been, getting better, and we started some good things, like you mentioned, the TikToks. So now we got the foundation, we got the stuff planned out in front of us. We just, got to hit the ground running and give it our all. So obviously, Insane Games TV as a channel, we hit the 1K followers. Stuff is just going in the right direction. Only way to go is up, really, Tyler. So I'm excited. Obviously, I thoroughly enjoyed doing the podcast with you. It's been another fun year. Hard to believe.
I think this is 3. We're going on 3.
Yeah, I mean, we started fall 2020 or 2019, so it's like this will be our 3rd year technically of the No Look podcast. So
season 3 coming soon.
Yeah, I gotta know, Dan. Tell us when our fucking 100th episode is.
I tried finding out the other day on YouTube, and I actually have to access the library to see how many episodes there are. So
I know he could do it so easily too. He just has to go in and like check the timestamps, like the dates of when it aired and stuff.
I'll get Tom on the phone. If you want something done, you go to the younger brother.
Tom, I know you kind of screwed us with the logo that you were gonna make, but if you could just do this one thing for us, let us know when the 100th episode is, because I would like to do something for that. It's obviously a pretty big milestone.
Yeah, for sure. But that's another installation of the No Look podcast, last one of 2021. We will see you all in 2022. Austin, what are you playing tonight?
I think we got some boys. We're gonna be rocking some Fortnite, just having some good old fun, silly time, consuming some drinks, having some laughs, and gonna have a good last Thirsty Thursday stream of the year of 2021.
You might see me in there. Well, Austin, bring us home.
All right. Hey, as always, you don't gotta go home, but you can't stay here until 2022. Weezy out.
Love ya.